What is up? What's good? The Wolf is back once again with another little Let's Talk video. And this one, it's going to be kind of an update to the Resident Evil 8 story prediction video that I made a little while back. And now that Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes are both out, and I have played through both of them at least once. You know, Resident Evil 2, I played through that multiple times. Resident Evil 3, played through it once, got through it. It's not the longest game in the world. It was great though. Highly suggest go and check out Resident Evil 3, especially if you like anything that's kind of like an action horror game. It's gonna be right down your alley. It is a little more action than horror. Not so much puzzles. You can just kind of get in, you know, kick some zombie ass and everything, and have a good time with it. A lot more so than like the very puzzly grab keys for doors aspect of Resident Evil 2. So with that being said, I will say right here, if you have not played Resident Evil 3 or Resident Evil 2 remake, and you do not know the full story of, you know, the story that's being set up in those two games, please, the rest of this video is going to be spoiler filled, so please turn the video off, pause it, go check those games out, come back, and then, you know, check this video out again. But yeah, definitely a lot of spoilers. It's going to be nothing but spoilers in this video. So if you have not played those, go and check them out, then come on back. All right, so with that being said, let's get into the spoiler infested video. So there has been some leaks and rumors for Resident Evil 8. The Asite Gamer on Twitter here, aka Dust Golem, as you can see on the screen right over here. I'm pretty sure this person put up some Resident Evil 7 stuff. There's supposed to be like the Capcom insider that like leaks a bunch of stuff and whatnot. I'm saying I believe maybe a fourth of this. I think there's probably some truth in these posts. I'm not calling it all complete bullshit, but I will say that I think, like, okay, so one of the first ones right off the bat is the Resident Evil 8 is going to be in first person. I don't think so. I think that's kind of just a leak or a rumor. Maybe early on it was going to be, but I don't think RE8 was ever going to be a first person game. I think there is something like a Half-Life Alyx project going on. If you know that what Half-Life Alyx is recently Half-Life Alyx came out full on VR game, and it like pushed the bar of what VR could do. But from what I've heard is that story-wise, it's actually kind of setting up to finally possibly bring to light Half-Life 3. No joke. Not even like Kappa or anything. Straight up, Half-Life 3 could possibly be being pushed into development because of Half-Life Alyx. So that's what I'm seeing, probably a Resident Evil VR game in first-person mode. Instead of it being RE8, it could be very well Revelations 3, as this kind of goes into that. You know, Revelations 3 was received a lot better by testers internally, etc. Internally, etc., than they expected. So the game's been given an additional year in the oven to convert itself into RE8. The ambassador leaks about werewolves and Ethan in a snowy village are 100% true, but they're outdated information. Now I could definitely see this. So what I'm kind of thinking is aspects of Resident Evil 6 might be brought over to like a Resident Evil VR, and that's what we're going to end up seeing as like this tie over, because the reason why, let's see here, it goes into saying that the game has been going through some huge changes to make it more of a mainline title, big changes to the story, characters, etc. So specifically, what you've heard may not be fully true in the final, but a number of elements remain. It is definitely going to be a cross-gen game, which I've been saying this from the get-go. It's going to be this generation and a next-gen title. Now, the whole thing of that it could be Revelations 3, I could see it being like Revelations 3, the VR experience of Resident Evil, which I think that would sell very well, because Revelations was, you know, it came across being very good. Most of the fans liked it. A lot of fans actually have only seen Revelations because it's been on sale so many times that they picked that game up just to see what Resident Evil is all about. Sometimes you get to trickle off into the people who get the mainline games of that. So what better of one of the series to bring over to VR than one, a title that everybody really knows. Um, Now, I also seen somebody in here saying that they get kind of motion sickness off from first person games. So I really don't think the mainline Resident Evil 8 is going to be first person. I think that I'm gonna call BS on that one. Um, I think that is probably the rumor that's being pushed over to Resident Evil 8, but it's actually a VR title. I'm really, my gut feeling is saying that. I still stand by RE8 is going to be setting up for like this mega huge like science experiment of sure werewolves and this and that stuff. I mean, hell, you turn the what is it, the green hunters that are in Resident Evil 3, you make them a little bit taller, make them look like a wolf, and you have a freaking werewolf right there. So it's not that hard to imagine werewolves and stuff in this. There was some other stuff in here saying that there'd be like hallucinations and like cultism and this and that stuff. And that I could definitely see them go that route with it. Like, you had kind of the cult that was Resident Evil 4, so I could definitely see that being brought back. Like I said, 4, 5, and 6, I feel like are going to Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 are going to be reimagined into between the VR and Resident Evil 8. It's going to be like sprinkled in, like some elements of all those games are going to be reimagined into, just like the way Resident Evil 2 and 3 are reimagined from the original game. So it's really the biggest question for me is how much of those elements are actually going to be brought into the newer games. Foisted on us, sincerely, Nathan Bard. Chris is on his way to Europe. Gets detoured to go pick up Ethan. Sees the whole mansion incident blowing up. Or not the mansion incident, the RE7 mansion blowing up, and all that, the giant monster and this and that stuff happening and all that. Picks up Ethan, gonna drop Ethan off at Blue Umbrella, where he's working with now. Wesker is not a part of Umbrella. It's happening. It's happening throughout this fucking game, man. I'm seeing it step by piece by. It's just all going together. So then what you're absolutely going to have is Wesker's working on his own with his sister, taking all the research and everything. His sister and him are, he's being the mastermind of like, can you make this and make that? She's being the mastermind of being the scientist that's like, yes, I can do this, I can do that, I can make all these fucking monsters and everything. But then the brother and sister duo, they, what's the biggest superpower in the world? Sorry, every other country, but the US is. So if they end up taking the president's daughter, i.e. Resident Evil 4, and then we reimagine it into, now you have Leon and Claire after they just escaped Raccoon City. You have Jill. So, and RE8 is going to probably start off with Leon and Claire getting out of the city, and all of a sudden, boom, the city blows up behind them. I don't think that we're going to be seeing Resident Evil 4 remake as like a full-on like remake. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be reimagined into 8. The VR will probably bridge the story gap that's being, because it's a big giant story plot hole in between Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 7. Now it's either they do a full-on the recap or whatever, like so we went on the mission and we did this thing, and then it flashbacks over to some older missions. Not a lot of people like that way of storytelling, so I think VR would be a perfect way of being like, okay, this and this happened from Resident Evil 3 when Raccoon City gets blown up, to the creation of Blue Umbrella, to Chris finding Ethan, to the basically Mansion Incident 2.0 that was Resident Evil 7 and everything. And then you go through, like, you start hearing about Resident Evil 7's events throughout the VR experience. And then, of course, you can go back and play Resident Evil 7 either in VR or outside of VR. And then that leads into Resident Evil 8, as Resident Evil 7 already does. And there you go with the Blue Umbrella stuff, and the organization that's trying to find and take down Wesker, the reformed Umbrella underneath the the regime that is basically the STARS members. That makes the most sense to me. That's what they're basically setting up. So, to bring this back a little bit, so Resident Evil 8, one of the big things that we were seeing running through Resident Evil 2 is that Chris is over in Europe. Now, for me, that tells me that, okay, so Claire is looking for Chris. Chris is over in Europe. What is Chris doing? If he's on vacation, he's probably undercover. So that means he's probably hunting after somebody he knows that's over there. Now, Resident Evil 3's lore kicks in at this point. And then we know that Nikolai is working for some mysterious contractor.
You're not going to stop. Promised you this, didn't I?
No! Do you have any idea what you've just done?
No, don't care. My client ordered me to reduce Umbrella to rubble.
10 minutes until missile impact.
Wesker.
The missile has launched. And that is meant to.
Why'd you do it?
There's a price tag for everything. Even letting the world burn.
Who are you working for?
I'll tell you, if you get me out of here. I'll pay you whatever you want. You're a fool. You're a fool! If I die, you'll never find out the truth.
I don't mind a little detective work. It was greed. Human greed. I decided then and there, the ashes of Raccoon City would be Umbrella's ashes too. I would end them, once and for all.
Who you think this contractor is? It's gotta be Wesker and his sister. His sister is literally in the Project Resistance thing. They are setting the character up so you know who the hell she is if you didn't play Revelations. Now, at the same time, that would also mean that she didn't die in Revelations, or maybe that whole storyline also gets retconned. That's kind of a tricky one right there of how they're gonna play that off. Then on top of that, let's see here. So then, Nikolai being the bad guy, Jill also says at the end of RE3, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go and tear down Umbrella. When she said that, I'm like, you know what? I wonder if the VR game is going to be they're tearing down what we know of, like the red and white Umbrella, and that's how they're going to transition it into blue Umbrella. Is that the whole STARS team comes in, wipes out the maybe even Wesker's sister is in charge of Umbrella. That actually makes more sense even right there. And then they end up wiping out Wesker's sister. In the process, Wesker goes mad because of that and starts, trying to even more vigorously hire up people to, do like experiments and stuff. And then that's what Resident Evil 8 is going to be. You are on the hunt to take out, Wesker's little henchmen that are. I mean, that goes back to what Resident Evil has done over the years, anyways. So yeah, like seeing some of this stuff, like I said, yeah, hallucinations, occultism, insanity, and whatnot. I could definitely see the insanity part. Ethan starts going mad because even the illusion stuff and everything of like what Evelyn, so the little girl Evelyn, she is literally doing, she's driving everybody crazy using the hallucinations, and basically the occultism could come from the Resident Evil 4 with the guys in the robes and this and that stuff. Insanity the hallucinations are driving people insane, and that's the experiments that they're doing on, that Wesker's sister is doing. What's his Alex Wesker. So that's like all the experiments that Alex Wesker is doing. She keeps driving people insane instead of making them into like a super soldier for her and Wesker to use. I mean, it's just like, or Albert Wesker. I should probably use his full name sooner or later. So that would just make so much more sense after playing through Resident Evil 2 and 3 and seeing a lot of the like side lore that's sprinkled into Resident Evil 3. I found that the predictions of, I mean, okay, so another big one, Nikolai is basically tracking Nemesis and watching what Nemesis goes for. Nemesis is tracking Jill and trying to, I don't think he knows that Wesker, I'm pretty sure Wesker is probably controlling Nemesis, and we don't know that. Neither does Nikolai. Nobody figures this out. Oops. Oh no. Jill!
Interest. You've done me a big favor, miss.
Jill! Until we get into like maybe the VR game, or until, like the trailer for Resident Evil 8 drops, and then we see like Wesker's like, who do you think was pulling all the strings behind the scenes? The mastermind, Project Resistance. It's just like, it's all kind of making sense of like everything is just going tung, 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 and like making the whole puzzle of all this lore that is just like going up to Wesker's like main villain of Resident Evil 8. They reimagine all the events, leading up to it and everything. And then we go and we create Blue Umbrella, and Blue Umbrella is used to go hunt down Wesker, to take Wesker on. And of course, Wesker being the kind of evil scientist, or well, not scientist, but evil genius mastermind that he is, wanting nothing but power, more power, world saturation and domination and all that stuff. It would just be like, okay, I made Umbrella. You can never take me down using Umbrella because I made that. So I'm going to turn into Matrix guy and and take on Chris and Claire and all that stuff. So one of my big predictions is that not only is it going to be third person for Resident Evil 8, but we're going to have the multiple characters. So not just the two characters, but we're going to have multiple, like maybe all 6 or 7 people are ripping and ready to go for Resident Evil 8. So we have kind of like Resident Evil 6, where you have all these storylines all put together. Maybe even it gets put into like a co-op experience of multiple characters all being brought together. We see co-op kind of works in the engine with Project Resistance. It can work if it's done right. So that's kind of my I don't want this to go on too long. So that's kind of my predictions, my updated predictions now that Resident Evil 3 is out. I think we'll probably be seeing something of Resident Evil VR, aka Revelations 3, very soon, because we do have E3 is like right around the corner. So in the next couple months, I think there's going to be a giant state of play. So here's another big one, and this one is not. I'm kind of winging this one. I think we're going to have that giant state of play that finally shows off full on gameplay of the PlayStation 5. And because Resident Evil 3 has had such a big marketing promotion, push, especially on PlayStation and everything, I think they're going to show off a new VR game that is going to be set up for PSVR, not VR2, but VR. And that's going to be Revelations 3. And it's going to say, like, plays best on PlayStation 5. And that's going to be like a big, here it is on State of Play. Boy. I mean, what bigger way of trying to sell a system than a brand new Resident Evil game on that system? Something that everybody really enjoys and loves. Now, there has been some stuff on Resident Evil 3 of like, oh, there's not enough puzzles and such. I kind of felt that, but at the same time, if they do make Resident Evil 8 more action oriented and just sprinkle in a little bit more of the puzzliness in there, I think they could definitely get away with doing like the action puzzle Resident Evil. Um, the horror side of things, they could definitely sprinkle in a few horror missions in there, or make it so like Leon's campaign is more of RE2 style, where Jill's campaign is more like, you know, the gung ho, Jill and Carlos go and, you know, they kick the shit out of everything. Leon and Claire, or Leon and Ada, go in. I do also think Ada Wong is going to be part of Blue Umbrella. I think she's going to be like a double agent going between, because Ada is a very, very cool, you know, kind of like the wild card in Resident Evil. She can play both sides very easily. So I think she's going to be kind of a double agent in Resident Evil 8, of like she's working with Blue Umbrella, but she's also playing Wesker. And what better way of playing the you know, or playing games on the mastermind than, you know, the spy. You know, it's kind of like, it's that cliche enough thing to fit Resident Evil's, you know, world and everything. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it. I'm gonna wrap up there. So you see my kind of vision for Resident Evil 8. Like I said, Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 being reimagined into the Resident Evil 8. I think there's going to be a brand new VR game to tie over that storyline gap. And then 7 goes into 8, and then 8 is going to be like the master, you know, the master game of all master games for Resident Evil, where everybody's there, everybody has a role to play, everybody. I mean, hell, you could even do it to where each character is selectable throughout the whole game, and you do, depending on which, oh boy, depending on which characters you do, different interactions happen and stuff. I mean, we've seen those games for like 10 years now. That, you know, it's definitely possible. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm believing maybe half of the stuff that's being leaked of rumor. I just don't think it's exactly the way that they're hearing the leaks and rumors, because I think stuff is getting changed behind the scenes. So it's not exactly, you know, what you're seeing. Don't take anything that for, you know, any of these leaks and rumors, do not ever take them for like that's what it's going to be. Always take them with a grain of salt. And then also use your brain and think about how it fits in with the lore that's already being created officially. That's why I don't fully believe all this stuff. Anyways, so thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. And I will have more Resident Evil stuff as it becomes available, trailers and all that stuff, reactions to them all and everything. And probably be doing some more streams of Resident Evil 3 in the coming future here, the near future. Definitely going to be trying to mod a PC version of Resident Evil 3 just to check all that stuff out and do a like speed run Resident Evil 3 and everything. So yeah, should be fun. We got a lot of good times coming up with Resident Evil. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, I will see ya next time.